I am Joe Hunk, obviously the executive producer for 3HL, and this is the very first episode of the Strike Zone. Now, obviously, you can see I'm not in studio. I'm actually doing this right now from my home office that I have here. And by the way, obviously, we are starting tonight around 9 o'clock. Now, there's a few things going on as we speak. First and foremost, make sure that you give us a follow on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, on whatever website, Facebook Live, whatever that is, that you would normally be watching all of our 104.5 The Zone shows. We absolutely appreciate you following us. We appreciate you interacting. I've got my phone up right now that we have going on. I'm making sure that I'm retweeting this as well because I'm kind of asking you to do it. So, I mean, obviously I would want to do it, but it just helps us out. Mainly reason that it helps us out is because we're trying to grow Zone TV. Now, as we're talking, there's a few things that are happening right now. I, at the moment, have two televisions going on. Now, there's two games that I'm mainly paying attention to as we get going with the Strike Zone tonight. The first is the Nashville Sounds and their game that they have with Gwinnett. In fact, that game just wrapped up right when we went live. That wrapped up. So it is 3-2. That is the final. And the Sounds get their first win after a 4-game losing streak. And this team has kind of been wishy-washy right now, especially after that amazing winning streak that they had of 15 games, tying the team record for wins in a row. And now they've kind of been back and forth, but they had an amazing pitcher on the mound tonight. And he actually just got called up from Biloxi a few weeks ago. He's already had about 3 starts. Tonight's was his 4th start, and he pitched extremely well, and the Sounds got that win. So they win in Gwinnett. The sad thing about it is, if you are a Vanderbilt baseball fan, not only a fan of the team that's going to Omaha right now, but also all the alumni that are currently pitching major leagues, minor leagues, and places like that, is Kyle Wright was on the mound for Gwinnett and had a very solid game, but unfortunately, he was not able to get the win. It's probably been one of his best performances that we been doing, or the way that he's been pitching over the past few weeks. He's had a really high ERA, about 4. It's been really ugly since he got called back from Atlanta after coming up for that 1 start that he did. So this is a season that has been kind of up and down for him. What's great about this is, as we're doing this show right now, you can obviously comment. I've got the comment section going down right now. It's just like everywhere else that we have whenever we're doing a show on 104.5 The Zone. You can comment, get your questions in as we get going with the Strike Zone tonight. Doing it a little late, mainly because I figure we can have a little bit more fun at 9 o'clock tonight. The other game that I have going on, you guys can't really see because I have an iPad right here, and then I also have the television going right now. As you can see on our topic rundown, one of the big topics that we were going to hit tonight, the Braves bullpen. And we're going right now, about to go into the top of the 9th inning, and Charlie Morton actually had a no-hitter going until the 7th inning, and it was glorious. And the fact that he is not even needed to go to the bullpen, because if you follow me on Twitter, which you should, at Joe Hunk, if you follow me on Twitter, you saw a meme that I posted, and it was from the movie Major League, which is honestly one of the best movies in not only sports movie history, but movie history, period. Don't at me. I mean, I want you to, but it was of Bob Uecker pouring the whiskey into the bottle, and it said at the very top, all right, Braves bullpen is getting going. And that's kind of the way that we have felt about the Braves bullpen over probably the last month, 2 months, 3 months, okay, even part into last year, until we made the trades that happened at the trade deadline, and they brought in Melanson, as well as bringing in Green. Now, obviously, Melanson's with San Diego, and by the way, he's doing really good. Just kind of a FYI for you. He's doing really, really good. Got Mike hopping in. He's watching from the Gump, and that's Montgomery, by the way. Mike, I appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on, man, and getting into the Strike Zone. Make sure that you like, make sure you share. We're going to get this growing over the next few weeks as we get going. But The Braves bullpen is something that we're going to hit on a little bit later on. Mainly, I kind of want to wait to see what's about to happen with the Braves in the ninth inning because right now they're winning 4-0. That means jack. That means absolutely nothing when it comes to this Atlanta Braves bullpen because this team can blow a lead at the drop of a hat. We've seen it the last few nights with the Red Sox, and you're watching it right now with the Cardinals. So those are some of the things. But the big thing, the biggest story that is going to be going on in the state of Tennessee for obviously at least the weekend, okay? With Vanderbilt and Tennessee both in the College World Series, it's probably going to be into next week. Now, the championship round is going to start a week from Monday. It's going to be a best-of-3 series. That's the way that it is every single year for everybody that's kind of hopping in and getting kind of learning what the way that the College World Series is. Look, it's okay. Okay. When it comes to baseball, the baseball NCAA tournament is different from every other tournament outside of softball, obviously, because when you have your basketball ones, it's one and done. We know about the college football playoff and the 4 that's about to be 7 teams. Yeah, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a little bit different. So that's different. But with college baseball is you start off with a regional, which is basically a double elimination tournament made up of 4 teams. Then you advance to the super regional, which is another double elimination tournament. It's a best 2 out of 3 round. Once you win there, you advance again to the College World Series. Now, this is where it gets weird because just because it's 8 teams that are playing in Omaha, that doesn't mean that it's 8 teams going against each other. This is actually 2 more regional rounds, 2 more double elimination tournaments, and the 2 teams that come out of this are going to face each other next Monday. It's the best way to describe it because when you look at the different rounds, and you look at the way you have Tennessee in one bracket, Vanderbilt's in another bracket. They're not going to meet. The only way Vanderbilt and Tennessee are going to meet is if they're meeting each other next Monday in game 1 for the national championship round. And if that happens, the state of Tennessee is going to explode. Now, you can look all throughout the history, and there's always been this opportunity when it comes to your 2 teams that are rivals that have the opportunity of playing each other. Now, before I get into that, let me get back into some of the comments. Remember, you can comment and you can watch no matter where you are. You can comment on this. We got Mike talking about 19 saves, couldn't save his way out of a sack in the Atlanta, or in the ATL. I'm assuming you're talking about Shane Green. That's my thought. Zach is hopping on Twitter. Make sure that you follow us, 1045 The Zone, talking about this is awesome. Zach, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the love. We absolutely appreciate that. And then Mike also pops in and says it could have had majority SEC if Arkansas hadn't got the number 1 jinx. Arkansas to everybody. And it's very similar to if you are a Preds hockey fan and you saw that first round. We talked about it a lot on 3HL of, 16 experts all picked the Hurricanes to beat the Preds. Now, eventually they were right. But for a period of time, they looked really, really dumb because nobody gave the Preds a shot. Oh, Melanson. Now, see, Mike has mentioned about Melanson with the Atlanta Braves bullpen. I loved Melanson. And I honestly believe that even with the Braves bullpen, as the way that it is right now, if Mark Melanson was still a part of this Braves bullpen, they're not 7.5 games back of the New York Mets. I could even see this Atlanta Braves team being the number 1 team in the NL East if they just had that one closer. But we'll get to the Braves here in just a little bit. And with the way that Tennessee and Vanderbilt have been playing, you saw the way Arkansas was, okay? There was only a couple of teams that I think were in this tournament, and these 2 tournaments, because the College World Series, again, made up 2 individual brackets where the 2 winners of those brackets are going to face each other. I know it looks very complicated because you're trying to figure out that if one team loses, another team loses, why aren't they playing each other? That's how you've got to look at this, okay? One bracket, another bracket, they don't meet until the championship. And with Arkansas was the team, the best team in the country. Here's a question for you, though. How many times, really think about this, has the team that has won the SEC championship actually made it to the championship and turned around and won the national championship in college baseball? And obviously I'm speaking about the SEC because it's not always a good thing to go all the way to Sunday and to play all the way through the SEC baseball tournament. You can look at one team specifically, because it's not just Vandy, it's not just Tennessee. Mississippi State is also that third SEC team that is in this, and they got run ruled. They got run ruled not once, but twice in the SEC baseball tournament. Let me repeat that. They got run ruled twice in the SEC baseball tournament, and they are playing in Omaha. One, that's how deep the SEC is. But that was the other thing. They got swept. They went back to the house. They went back to Starkville, and they got ready for the regional and the super regional. And that's the reason why they're playing in Omaha. Having a team that is going the distance in the SEC baseball tournament could be great, and it can also screw you over. And that is where, this is what makes me extremely nervous about Vanderbilt. Because most likely, look, round one, game one for everybody, show me your ace. That's what it's going to be. Show me your ace. So for Vanderbilt, most likely it's going to be Rocker. That's most likely who's going to be pitching for them. And you can look at the ace across every single staff, and that's what you're going to see. The problem that I'm seeing, and this is a very, very difficult matchup for Vanderbilt, because when Rocker or Leiter are pitching, they score 4 runs, they score 5 runs, they've got it made. They're going to be winning whatever game that is as long as they can get to about 4 runs. That's that mark. Get that 4 and you're good. After those two, you're going to have to score 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 runs. And you saw that with Vanderbilt in the regional, and you also saw it again kind of in the super regional. Well, not so much in the super regional, because East Carolina, boom. I mean, they just rolled right past them. Rocker pitched amazing in that first game. Had, 11 Ks? Legit. Okay? And Leiter, that's what's crazy. Rocker's your one. Leiter's the one that's getting drafted higher. Leiter's most likely going to go second or third in the draft this year. By the way, that's another thing. If you've been wondering about what's going on with the Major League Baseball draft, normally that is happening right now. That is happening last week. There have been times where you have seen the SEC baseball tournament, and then you see the regional. And then during the super regional, players are getting drafted. And so when they get to the College World Series, you start using that as a description of, oh, this player is batting this. And, oh, last week he was drafted in the 10th round by the Detroit Tigers. First off, I'm sorry. I really am sorry if you got drafted by the Detroit Tigers. Sorry, Detroit's really not a great city. And if you're a hitter, I'm even more sorry that you're going to have to go and hit in Comerica, because that is a wasteland. You think TD Ameritrade is a wasteland? Look, that's why whenever you're looking at every breakdown this weekend, whatever it is, every single breakdown is going to say, yes, this team can hit home runs, but can they do it in TD Ameritrade? Can they do it there? Because that is where all of this is going to be. That is where all the questions are going to lie when you're talking about, can somebody hit with power from TD Ameritrade? I don't think that can happen. I really, really don't. You're going to see games maybe have 1 home run, which benefits a team like Vanderbilt when you're talking about having the great pitching they are. Here's the reason why I'm worried about Vanderbilt versus Arizona as this gets started. Arizona has an amazing offense. And I mean top to bottom. You saw it against Ole Miss. They have a dangerous offense. I'm not talking about, let's not let's not worry about it because Rocker's going to be able to go. The thing that I worry is that with these great hitters of Arizona, if they aren't too patient and cause Rocker's pitching numbers to go up and his pitch count to go up, and they get him out of the game early, 5th, 6th inning, and boom, now you're talking about going into that Vanderbilt bullpen, and it's not that great. They have one or two pitchers that have like sub-3 ERAs, but at the same time, they've only gotten into about 10 or 11 games each, and that's where I'm really worried about this. Now, that also could mean that they're fresh arms, but the problem and the thing that I worry about is the fact that if you get past Rocker, you get past Leiter, and I'm not even talking about game 1 or game 2. I'm talking about night 1, night 2. You get into that Vanderbilt bullpen with this offense that Arizona has, that is where they can score runs. So if I'm Arizona, I am talking about a lot of times when you go into a baseball game, your coach is going to give you a scouting report. If it's a pitcher that likes to throw fastball early in the count, then he's going to say, look for the fastball early on, get a good bat on it, and go. But if you're talking about a team that has a really good pitcher and the bullpen is kind of shaky, majority of the time they're going to go up there, they're going to say, look, I'm not telling you to take a fastball directly down the middle, but what I am going to do is tell you to look for a ball in your spot, okay? A baseball, look at a strike zone. If you play MLB The Show, you know what I'm talking about. Look at a strike zone, and it's made up of 9 squares. Most batters know exactly where in those 9 squares is their mash zone. And when I say mash zone, I'm talking about that is the place that if a ball enters that spot, I am mashing it out of the park, and I'm going to stand there and watch it. That is what Arizona's going to get told. That's what I think. That's what I think is that they're going to go in and their coach is going to say, look, be patient. Don't go swinging at the first pitch unless it is a fastball directly down the middle. Do not do this. But if we can get past Rocker and this is a 2-2 ball game, 1-1, 1-2, 3-2, whatever it is, if this is a low scoring ball game, let's get into that bullpen, and that is where we're going to score our runs. And that's where it makes me very nervous because you have to think if you're Vanderbilt, you have to get your first 2 wins with Kumar Rocker and with Leiter. Because if you get that, then you kind of have a little bit of wiggle room because since these are 2 miniature tournaments, you're now automatically in the semifinal, which is the championship. That means that you can go with a bullpen game, which means your best pitchers or everybody is on deck. You can finish this off on Friday, and then you have the weekend to get your arms rested, and Rocker's available again on Monday. And then Leiter's going to be again available on that Tuesday in game 2. If Vanderbilt can get to the championship round, they will win the national championship. I don't think that they can get there because I think that if you get into a smart hitting team, which Arizona is one of them, you get with a smart hitting team, then you get past Rocker, you get past Leiter, you get into that bullpen. That's where Vanderbilt's going to be in trouble. And Vanderbilt has a history of those bats going silent whenever Rocker or Leiter is not on the mound. Let's see if that's what happens. On the other side of this, Tennessee, we saw it in the comments section earlier today, or just a minute ago. I think it was either Mike or it was Zach that threw out Virginia's pitching is mean. Yeah, you didn't want to face Virginia. Yeah, no, that's a really bad matchup when it comes to pitching. It's not a horrible matchup. It's a difficult matchup because Virginia is extremely deep with their pitching. You continue to hear me talking about pitching because at TD Ameritrade, that's what it's about. All right. Depending on some storm coming in where the wind is going to be blowing out, Omaha is a dead zone. Okay. Braves fans, it's like playing at Fulton County. Okay. Extremely large outfield. It's going to be very hard to get the ball in the air and to get it out of the stadium. So you're going to have to worry about these teams that are really good hitting. That's Tennessee. Tennessee is one of those teams. Great contact hitting team. Yes, we know about the home runs. We've seen the grand slam. We all know about that. Tennessee is one of the few teams that can literally go toe to toe with you in every aspect of the tournament. You want to do a pitching battle? All right. They've got some arms in the bullpen. They've got a couple of starters that they can ride with. Boom. They're good to go. If you want to go with a hitting matchup, sweet. Let's roll with that because we'll go 10 and 11. You can look at what Wright State in that one. By the way, and I talked about this with Lucas and Will a couple of weeks ago when we were previewing the regional baseball tournament for Tennessee, and Wright State was a team that I was terrified of. And I mean, just they were leading all these offensive numbers. They didn't even play in the same number of games as a lot of these SEC baseball teams. And they were looking like an extremely dangerous baseball team. Tennessee ripped their hearts out. And I mean that in a full-fledged way, okay? We're talking about Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, sticking the hand in, Kamara. That's what we're talking about. Because the moment Wright State lost that baseball game, when they thought they were going to win it, they then had to turn around and play like at 10 a.m., and they just were not even there. They were still thinking about the home run the night before, and they got eliminated twice. In this game, Tennessee has got to remain calm. I really think that's kind of okay for Tennessee. I don't think that's going to be a major worry because that's kind of what you're seeing with Vitello. Like you're seeing this moxie of somebody because he's coached at Arkansas and he's coached in these big places, TCU and those places. Coming to Omaha is not terrifying for him. Like he knows what it's about. He's been able to prep everybody about when they got off of that bus earlier today, what this was going to be like. In Major League Baseball, you'll see this a lot of times whenever you've got a very young baseball team and then towards that trade deadline or even before the season started, you see that veteran that's kind of been around the league and he's played on some teams and he may have won a World Series as like a bench player or he won a World Series very early in his career and he kind of started going around and people were picking him up at the trade deadline. That's kind of what you will see a lot of times in Major League Baseball because those guys can explain. By the way, I'm pointing over here because that's where my television is. Braves won. Charlie Morton had no hitter all the way through the seventh inning. Charlie Morton is that guy for the Braves. That's that veteran who's played in the World Series, who's pitched in the World Series, even if it was for the Houston Astros. He pitched in the World Series, and he knows what it feels like to get there and to stay calm and all that sort of stuff. That's locker room stuff, and that's what Vitello is when it comes to Tennessee right here. I don't have to talk about this with Vanderbilt because like they're in this every single year. And even last year, there's players on this team that was winning the national championship 2 years ago for Vanderbilt. So this isn't as important for Vanderbilt as it is for Tennessee because nobody on that roster outside of a coach or two has played in the College World Series or coached in the College World Series. So that's where they're coming in with that swagger. You've heard the stuff about the way they dressed and all this sort of stuff. They're doing things their way. Now, it's not up to me on the Thursday before the College World Series to sit here and question, okay, should you have dressed this way? Should you have acted that way? Should you have went in here and said this instead of that? That's not this Tennessee team. If they're playing next Monday, then it doesn't matter. They were being themselves. If they're not playing next Monday, then okay, you may be able to question it. But Vitello is going in with this team playing the way that they want to play. And the way they're playing right now is they're playing great offensive baseball. The only reason why a lot of times when you see a super regional score, like you look at that final game where when they played LSU and it was a really close ball game, they've played LSU like 5 or 6 times so far this season. They're going to be the ones that are going to play you the best because you've seen them multiple times. Like there is something in that when you're talking about how much you have seen a team throughout. You saw them in a 3-game series. You had the opportunity to see them in Hoover, even though you actually didn't play against them. And then you see them again in the super regionals and you played them 2 times. Yeah, they're going to know what you are. They're going to know what your players are doing and vice versa. So when you look at this tournament, there are obviously 3 teams that have all played each other. Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. They've all played each other so far this season. Mississippi State and Tennessee only played each other once. That was in the SEC tournament. I mentioned it a while ago. Mississippi State got run ruled. We know about Vandy and Tennessee when they played each other. Vanderbilt won the season series. So those teams have played each other. The other 2 teams in this tournament that have played each other is Texas and Mississippi State, and that's going to be another round 1 matchup, and that one could be the most fun. Are you like a history buff? You can comment. Make sure that you throw those comments in. I've got the comment section pulled up right now. Mike is talking about make these pitchers throw 80, 90 pitches by the 7th inning, and they're not going to be able to go the 8th and 9th where you're going to be able to score a lot. That's what he's talking about with Arizona. But if you are a leatherhead, and I'm talking about the leather of a baseball, you can smell it. You've played baseball. You know this. When talking about the College World Series, Mississippi State versus Texas is like the 80s personified when it talks about playing the College World Series. That's the 90s personified. Mississippi State has never won a national championship in baseball, but they have gotten so close so many times, and Texas is kind of the reason why they've never been able to win a national championship. So this is Michigan versus Alabama in a college football game. This is Ohio State and Penn State going at it. These are helmet matchups is what we call it in football. This is a hat matchup, the Longhorn, the Bulldog, and it is just going to be so much fun to watch those 2 teams. Texas is an amazing baseball team. They are. The biggest problem that they have, they strike out way too much. And guess what Mississippi State's great at? They have a pitching staff that will strike you out in 3 straight pitches. I think they almost average, I think it's like 1.8, 1.7 strikeouts per inning. They will strike you out. This, to me, is looking like it's going to be maybe 3-2, maybe 4-2, one of these close baseball games to get going. Then you're going to talk about how the bracket and all that's working. So you have the College World Series going on. Now, look, if you are a Tennessee fan, make sure that you are listening to 104.5 The Zone. If you cannot watch the game on Sunday, we're going to have that here on 104.5 The Zone. Also, again, make sure you give us a like. Make sure you give us a subscription. Make sure that you follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is. You can listen to this a little bit later on. Also, make sure that you give us a follow on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube. Let us know how we're doing, some things that you like, the same things that you don't. We just appreciate you doing that. And, of course, follow me at Joe Hunk. I always am loving to talking to people. I think my wife even kind of gets upset with me with as much as I'm talking to people on Twitter. But do it. It's fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, as one great wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans said, it's kind of a big deal, not a big deal, but kind of a big deal. It's all right. It's okay. Now, I said this on 3HL. And before we get going, because we've mentioned the Braves bullpen, they struggle a little bit. It was not the case tonight. They actually won 4-0. So to sit here and to make fun of them after they actually get a win, okay, we'll kind of go a little bit on that. But I'm a conspiracy theory guy, okay? I believe that everything that is on the surface is not the true thing, okay? I am one of these that believes there's always something extra to what is happening. Okay. As being somebody that's been in college football country for my entire life, I am somebody that believes that we only know about 10% of what truly goes on in any athletic department. Okay, I'm not talking about Tennessee, Vanderbilt. I'm talking about all 114 some odd universities that are playing Division I FBS football. We only know about 10%. We only know what they want us to know, and there's hundreds of things going on in the background that we will never know about, from girlfriends and boyfriends getting into arguments, to players thinking about leaving because they're homesick, to players that are upset over playing time and having coaches that we don't know about. Every single little thing, okay? A fender bender between a soccer player and a football player. Like, there's all this stuff. None of this stuff we know. So I always believe that what we get told is only about a third of the truth. It's what we are okay with hearing and knowing. So, for instance, have you ever seen the movie Limitless? It's a Bradley Cooper movie. It got turned into a television series, I want to say with CBS, but in it talks about how we only use about 10% of our brain, maybe 15% of our brain. And at any point in time, if we were to ever open up 100% of the brain, we just couldn't handle all the information. We couldn't handle all the truth. You hear that about the government a lot. You couldn't handle the whole truth. You couldn't handle how many times some country has tried to blow us up. So you hear all this stuff. And in baseball, you hear one story and you hear another story, and you start to see more and more of all of these. And then it's like, wait a second, why is this happening and why is that happening? Are they connected? I've got my hands together. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, make sure that you give us a follow so you can watch the video. I just finished a book. And for a lot of you that know about where I live, I have about an hour and a half drive every single day into Nashville so that I can do 3HL. And I listen to Audible all the time. I've gone through, I think I've been on 104.5 for about 6 or 7 weeks. I've already went through about 8 or 9 books so far since I've been going. And the one that I finished up earlier this week is called Cheated. And it's about the Houston Astros scandal. If you have not read it, if you have not listened to it, go and find it on Audible, on Amazon, Books A Million, wherever you buy your books, go buy it if you are a baseball fan, because it not only talks about the history of the Houston Astros cheating scandal, but it also talks about the history of sign stealing all the way back to the 1890s. And one of which, there is what is arguably one of the greatest and most known plays in baseball history, heck, sports history. And in this book, it talks about how the particular person that did this, which obviously we're talking sign stealing, we're talking about hitters. This hitter stole the sign. And there was a system set up so that this hitter knew exactly what was coming, which allowed him to do what he did and made history. It's a really interesting book. But in it, as I'm driving, hour and a half each day, I've got 3 hours to think about weird stuff. I started thinking, and there's another movie. I make a lot of movie references. It's called Mr. Destiny. It's a god-awful movie, but it's got a really cool premise. And it talks about a guy who goes all the way back and just wonders if he would have hit a baseball. It's a baseball movie. If he would have hit a baseball, how would his life have been different? And so he starts to get this explained to him. And you start talking, and the wizard, the genie, whatever it is that grants his wish, starts talking about how his life was on this plane. And you can see what I'm talking about if you're watching this on the show. His life is in this little plane. And when he hit this baseball, it automatically changed his plane. Look, if you're watching Loki, you know what we're talking about. Your history started to change. And what happened is a new history was written and it all bound together. And this is why you are where you are. So I started thinking, what happened in 2017, 2018, I'm going to say 2019 because Jose Altuve, oh, my wife doesn't want me to get the shirt pulled off. If all of that is connected to what is going on today in Major League Baseball. So this is what I'm saying. Right now, you're hearing a lot about spider tech, about sticky substances and things like that. As somebody that did this, okay, I was the guy in our dugout when I was playing college baseball. I was the guy that coach said, hey, Hunk, come over here. Here's a dozen baseballs. Get them ready for the game. Okay? I don't have a single baseball over here. I have one over there, but it's can't touch that one. So when you get a baseball comes out of the wrapper and it's in the plastic. It feels good to pull a brand new baseball out. The baseball is slick. Okay, you can hear my hands. You feel like, and you think it's the oil on your hands. It's making it slippery. No, it's the leather on the baseball. And what you do is normally you'll get this mud substance. Now, a lot of times you can do this multiple ways. Okay. If you are a little league team, because yes, this happens when we're talking little league, 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, all of this happens. When you're talking about this, you have these little kids, and what they will do is you'll tell them, go get some dirt on the warning track and put it in your hand, put the baseball just like this, put it like this, and you just start rubbing it all over the baseball and just keep doing it until that ball is no longer slick and you can just hold it in your hand and it feels good. You may throw it just a little bit, or you may act like you're throwing it, and just keep doing that. Well, when you graduate into some high schools and definitely into college, there's this substance that you'll buy, and it's like mud. As a matter of fact, I believe it's something called that. But the whole purpose of that is to dirty up a baseball so that you can kind of make that leather a little bit easier to hold. And with doing so, you put that mud substance in, and when you put this muddy substance in, you then do the exact same thing. You put it on the ball, you put it on different spots, and then you just keep rubbing it around. Just keep rubbing it around. And in doing that, that gets that baseball in a good area. And what you do is you then take it to your starter and you go, hey, tell me how this looks. How's this feel? Is it good? You want some more grip on it? Yeah, put some more grip on it. All right, cool. I'll throw some more grip. How about this? Yeah, that's perfect. And then you'll do the other 11 baseballs the exact same way. You use the one and hey, we got to make it look like this one. Okay, you're good. Over the course of baseball, you had things going on. You had the cheating scandal, the sign stealing. It doesn't matter which team. There were multiple teams doing this. I personally believe that every team was doing this because I did sign stealing. Now, I did it the old traditional way, just like without using the technology. The technology is the key to all the cheating. If you're using technology, then that's way different. But the whole idea of sign stealing, being at second base, being able to watch the head coach and know that when he goes and pulls out his hat, the very next sign, if he goes to his chest, is a fastball. If he goes to his ear, it's going to be a changeup. If he goes to his nose, it's going to be a curveball. Okay, that's sign stealing by just watching the coaches. Everybody does that. So we've done this throughout time. But then when you got to this cheating part of this, you started to see, okay, well, wait a second. If the Astros are doing this, hold up. The Dodgers are apparently doing this. If you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. Wait, the Red Sox are using Apple Watches. The Yankees are taking pictures and using the Yes Network. Whoa, boom, 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 boom. And so what happens is everybody assumes everybody is cheating. And what eventually you find out is that when one team gets in trouble, everybody else went, boom, hold up. I'm not doing this anymore. Okay, we have got to go back to the traditional way. If our guy at second base can figure out the signs, or we've got a veteran in the dugout that can figure out the signs and he can relay it to the runners and he can relay it to the coaches, okay, that's one thing. We cannot use technology anymore. The LA Dodgers had an entire R&D department when it comes to something. I'm not saying what, I'm just saying something. They had an entire R&D department for this. So that whole premise of everything that they were learning to do, my theory, and that's why over there, right there, it's called MLB conspiracy, because I have a conspiracy. I believe that the sign stealing was connected to the baseball seams getting tighter, which was another thing to improve offense in Major League Baseball. The seams that are on a baseball, you ever hold a baseball and you can go, oh man, I can really, really feel the seams on this one. They're really raised up. Well, that also means that when a ball is in a bat make contact, the seams on the baseball as it's spinning is going to slow the baseball down, which is the reason why there's not as many home runs. When the seams are a lot thinner and are wound a lot tighter, the baseball doesn't have as much wind resistance. This is all about wind resistance. Think about NASCAR. You know how they put them in that tunnel? Same thing with baseball. So with the baseball and the wind, if the seams are wound tighter to the baseball, then the baseball is going to be able to go farther because less wind can stop it and hit the seams as it's flying out, which is the reason why you get more home runs. So I believe that was all connected. And at some point in time, everybody stopped doing the technology, the sign stealing when it came to using the technology. And there's where we started getting a lot of these strikeouts because players went back to not knowing a single thing about what these pitchers were throwing unless the pitchers had to tell. And now Major League Baseball, who's seeing nothing but strikeouts, they're seeing low offensive numbers. It's because these players are no longer able to do whatever they do. Again, conspiracy theory Joe. And Major League Baseball has said, crap, we've got to fix this. Well, these pitchers are using the sticky substance. We've got to make it where their slider doesn't break as hard, where their curveball doesn't break as hard, where their sinker doesn't sink as much, and they cannot throw the ball the way that they want to. So when a pitcher, and this is what Tyler Glasnow was talking about the other day after he got injured. He did his press conference about Major League Baseball only giving him a few days to adjust what he's been doing his entire life. Is when you're holding a baseball and you've got the sticky substance, it's either the rosin bag or the sunscreen or whatever it is that you use. When you have that, you only have to hold on to the baseball with like 2 or 3 fingers and you can barely hold on to it. Okay. Think of it like holding an egg. You only got to hold it for a little bit. It doesn't take that much to hold that egg, but you take the sticky substance away. And now those baseballs are back to being just whatever they did in the dugout. They now have to grip it a little bit tighter. Now this is going to sound like a total pansy excuse. Okay. But this is true. These pitchers then start to use muscles throughout their arms that they have not used in years. Think about when you go and you do a workout and somebody says, hey, try this new workout. It's going to hit something just a little bit different. It's similar to what you do, but you're tweaking it a little bit. Or, hey, you're doing sit-ups. Throw one of those little sit-up bags underneath your lower back so you can get that arch whenever you're laying back, and it'll let you get just a little bit deeper in your sit-up. And you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, wait, those are muscles that I've never felt before. Same thing with a pitcher. They're using muscles that they've never used before. So if all the muscles around an arm, around an elbow, around a shoulder are all being built up because for over years, those are the ones that are getting used, you take the substance away, then they have to start using different muscles. Those are not as at the major league level like the other muscles are. That's where the injuries start coming in. That's what this is all about. But this is all connected because Major League Baseball, in my theory, has figured out that the sign stealing was the reason why all these home runs were getting hit and players were able to know what they were doing and the pitchers were throwing. Now Major League Baseball is basically trying to fix the matrix. They've made a problem. Now they're trying to make these adjustments. And what it's causing is the pitchers to get hurt. You've already seen it with DeGrom. You saw DeGrom happen last night. You've already seen it with Tyler Glasnow. You've seen it with, I think Trevor Bauer's been injured. You can go through and look at all these starting pitchers that are your aces. Garrett Cole. God, Garrett Cole. I don't think I can answer this. Idiot. So those are all the things that I believe. I believe sign stealing led to batters being able to know what's coming, led to more home runs and better hitting, led to Major League Baseball cutting out the sign stealing, meaning hitters didn't know what were coming anymore. They started to struggle at the plate. Now Major League Baseball goes after the pitchers and makes the pitchers make an adjustment so that we can get more offense into the game. There's my conspiracy theory, and that is how I'm going to end the Strike Zone tonight. Make sure that you keep watching. We did this tonight because we have the College World Series coming up on Friday or Saturday, and we kind of want to get you ready for that. We're going to be moving this around. We're probably going to be moving this to Monday. We're going to be doing it about the same time. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Joe Hunk. Make sure that you follow the station 104.5 The Zone on all of our social media feeds, whether it is YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, /Periscope, Twitch, all of those. We appreciate you hopping in. Brandon threw it in right before we're about to get off the air. He says, not worried about pitchers using pine tar. And then he talked about how much he loved me whenever I was in Huntsville. Look, I appreciate you. Thanks for listening, man. And look, the pine tar isn't the issue. It's not the issue. There's a lot more to this. And honestly, it goes back to what Trevor Bauer was saying. Look, man, all we need to know is what rules are you actually going to be enforcing? Not what rules are in place. Which ones are you actually going to be enforcing? Think of it like whenever you drive down the road. You go through a 55 zone, but you're actually going about 75 because you know that they never really enforced that 55 speed zone. And now next thing you know, whoop, whoop. All right. We appreciate it. I'll be back on 3HL with Don and Slay coming up tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Also, Lucas and Will are going to be in right before us for Blaine and Mickey. I'm going to be on with them and those guys. So we appreciate you watching the Strike Zone tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow right here on Zone TV as well as across all of our other 104.5